Okay. So welcome everybody. We're very pleased to have Dr. Nick Silveri here. He is a practice owning chiropractor since 2006. In 2017, he started Leverage Media, a content-driven, done-for-you digital marketing agency that only serves chiropractors. Inspired by his own struggles to implement the great ideas he had stored away, he wanted to create an agency that would allow chiropractors to share their health expertise with their community while being authentic to themselves. His mission is to help chiropractors all over the world spread the message of chiropractic to their local communities. Please welcome Dr. Nick Silveri.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Valerie. And I'm excited to be here. I am actually going to be spending some time in Georgia tomorrow as I drive back to Chicago. We've been down in Florida snowbirding for the last 3 months. So it's time to head back home now that the weather is above freezing. So I'm going to hop right in. Today, what I want to do is share with you guys 5 things that you can be doing in 2021 to grow your practice. So 2020 obviously was a pretty crazy year. I don't think anybody has seen one like it in their practice. And a lot of people that had not invested a lot of time or energy into their online presence or into their online brand and were very reliant on external events, whether it be lunch and learns or spinal screenings or dinner with the docs, workshops in their practice. A lot of those things dried up basically overnight, and they realized that they should have been spending this time all along trying to build their online presence. So now in 2021, they always say, what's the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago, the second best time is today. Well, if you start creating your brand today, hopefully it'll be in a great place, here in a year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. So we're going to go through 5 things you can do today, whether you're basically starting from scratch or even if you're advanced. And if I could, Valerie, if there's any way that you could just kind of monitor to make sure everybody's muted. I can't see the attendees. That would be appreciated. All right. So first of all, I want to talk about basically the state of the union when it comes to chiropractic marketing. I do a lot of strategy sessions with doctors where I look at their online presence. I look at what they're doing in terms of their website, Facebook, Instagram, Google, YouTube, and I give them ideas on, what they might be missing out on, what they're doing incorrectly, and then also what they are doing well and how they can leverage that even more. When I do these strategy sessions, I usually see a few things that are kind of consistent throughout. Some people are just kind of a mess and they're really starting from scratch and they don't really have much of an online presence. But most everybody that is at a certain level of success, they have, a professional website. They're doing things on their Facebook page. They might be sharing content or posting, nice looking pictures with inspirational quotes over them. But very few people are creating content. The only thing that people are really spending money on right now that I see out there is they'll be spending money to run basically a coupon on Facebook, so like a $21 new patient special. And number 2 is they'll maybe be spending some money on Google Ads. So that's usually like the extent of the online presence that I see from people is they have a website that they're renting from some chiropractic website company. They have maybe a Facebook ad running, which is basically just a coupon. And then some of them will have Google Ads. But most people that are running Google Ads are not doing them correctly, or they're not spending enough money to really be able to see the results. So I want to talk about what is it that we can do to really start to move the profession forward in terms of marketing themselves properly online. So tip number 1, I am Leverage Media is a content marketing agency, and I always start any conversation I have with anyone around the content that you are creating. And so the first step is just to commit to creating consistent, relevant content. And consistency, it doesn't have to be 3 times a day. You could be creating a video each week. You could be working on one page of your website each month. It just needs to be part of the rhythm of what you're doing in practice. And then what I mean by relevant is, are you creating content that your ideal patients are going to be helped by? Do they care about it? Are they interested in it? So first off, you have to decide to be helpful. So a lot of people don't create content either because they're not sure what to say. They don't really understand the technical side of it. They may be, worried about what they look like or sound like on video. But as soon as you decide to make it more about community service than about yourself, it becomes a whole lot easier to create content on a regular basis. The way I look at it is, you're within the four walls of your practice, you are educating your patients. What I want chiropractors to do more of is to expand those four walls of the practice out to the entire community, so that somebody doesn't need to like meet you at a spinal screening. They don't need to know someone who is already a patient of yours. That you're going out there and you're showing um, uh, the wherewithal to get in front of them and give them something that's going to help their life. And what that does is it starts to build trust. It starts to create you as an authority, and hopefully that'll start to drive new patients through the door. One issue I do see with people that are creating content is they tend to make the office or the doctor the hero. And what I want you guys to do is really make the potential patient the hero. So if I'll talk a little bit more about story brand later on in the presentation, but if you've ever heard of the book Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller, it's all about creating or I'm sorry, putting your ideal customer or patient forward as the hero and positioning yourself as the guide to that hero. So no one cares about the history of chiropractic. No one really cares about the technique that you use. What they care about is, how is it that you can help me with the problems that I'm dealing with? Because I am the center of my universe. I am the hero in the movie that is playing in my head. So I'm looking to partner with guides that can take me from point A to point B. So when you're creating content, always, it can be about the techniques that you do, but it needs to be geared towards the patient and how that that particular technique is going to help them with the thing that they're trying to get relief from, or improving in their life. Another thing you want to keep in mind when it comes to creating content is to collaborate with other experts. Um, Being able to collaborate with other local health authorities, other people that have audiences, is that a lot of those people that are in their audience are people that you would like in your audience. It also makes it easier for you to create content on a consistent basis if you aren't always the one that is having to drive the ideas. If you can, I have a podcast, and it's much easier for me to interview someone than it is for me to sit down and outline out, a 10-minute video where I'm going to hit 3 to 5 points that I really want to get across. When I'm just in a conversation, it's so much easier for me to create value for the people that are listening. And because that person usually has an audience that trusts them, by them kind of quasi vouching for me, some of that trust starts to wear off onto me. And then the next time they see my content, they may be more likely to listen than if I hadn't done that collaboration with another expert. So in a local community, it's such a great opportunity to be able to network with people, to create more content, and to start to build that trust with people that are in their audience. And so you want to try to find experts. If you want to see more families or pregnant moms or babies, then collaborating with a pediatrician that takes a more natural approach, or a midwife, those are going to be great opportunities for you to get in front of all new people, and start to build that authority. And then once you do start creating content, make sure that you're leveraging what you're already doing. So I called leverage media for a reason, because if you just, like, let's say you do the interview with the expert, and it was an amazing interview, but then no one sees it because you don't spend any money to get it out into the community. You don't tag them in it so that they don't share it with their community, and then you miss that opportunity. So you spend all that effort and energy creating the content, but then you have to make sure that you are spending money to get it out so that people actually see it. You could spend $50 and probably reach 5,000, and that's just the people that you paid for. Anybody that shares it or likes it or comments on it, that's going to spread it even further. That's how things kind of go locally viral, is when people start to share and comment. So be sure, not only spend money, but be sure that you're posting it on other platforms as well. So if you do, say you do a Facebook Live, you can take that video and you can optimize it for YouTube. You can use it on Instagram, IGTV. You can post it on LinkedIn. You can post the YouTube link on Twitter. So you don't have to, especially if you're not a prolific content creator, don't worry so much about like, well, you have to make this kind of content for this platform and this kind for that kind of platform. You really just need to stay focused on creating good, valuable content and then figuring out how you can repurpose it across the different platforms. And then also don't try to do it all yourself. If you have a team in your office, there are people that have talents that maybe you don't even know about. Maybe people do videography on the weekend, or like taking pictures, or like editing. There's all kinds of opportunities for your team to be able to help you with some of the more mundane tasks when it comes to content creation. So the easy part is usually getting in front of a camera and doing it. The hard part starts as soon as you hit stop. That's when you have to do the video editing and the posting and the retargeting and the copywriting. That stuff becomes a hindrance to continuing to do it on a consistent basis. So try to surround yourself with people that can do a lot of the technical tasks for you. If nobody on your team can do it, you may want to reach out to somebody at like the local community college, high school. Like they may have a marketing club where you may be able to get some free help, some cheap help, whatever it might be. And then if you're kind of at wanting to go to the next step, there are always experts out there that can help you with the parts that maybe you're not great at. But again, don't try to become the know-all, do-it-all expert when it comes to marketing, because I rarely see that succeed. And then this is very particular to this year. 2020, obviously, all those offline events went away pretty much overnight. Last March. And you want to make sure that you're taking your offline efforts and you're trying your hardest to move them online. If you're doing workshops in the office, Zoom webinars are a great way to be able to continue to create value for people, and you can record them easily and use that as an asset moving forward. Spinal screenings, if you do like posture checks, you could do content around how people could do posture checks on their family members, or how they could do it, in the mirror. But just try to be creative on how is it that we can do the things that we were doing offline to be able to educate the community, and how can we take that online. So once you've created the content, you want to get it in front of the people that are in your community. You want to try to make sure that the ideal patients are actually seeing the content that you're creating. So one way of doing it, and this is the way most chiropractors focus on, or what they focus on, is growing your audience organically. This is I think this is probably the hardest way to do it, but long term, it's going to be the cheapest way for you to get your message out in front of people. Now, in order to do that, you really have to create value for the people that you're hoping to attract so that they follow your page. Somebody liking a Facebook page or following an Instagram account has just become harder and harder over time. So you really have to add value. And that's where collaboration sometimes can really come into play, is if they have a good audience, you have a decent audience, you guys do a collaboration, do some content together, you'll start to see that crossover effect with that person. But if you have if you have a larger organic reach, like say you've got 500 people now as your audience, if you could somehow build that to 5,000, well, the 10 to 15% of people that see any one individual post, that 5,000, 10 to 15% is obviously going to be a whole lot bigger. So growing your audience slowly, consistently over time, and continuing to add value is a good way of doing that. We talked about this. Make sure that you're distributing the content. So make sure that you pay to get it seen. If they just played the Super Bowl in a stadium somewhere, nobody distributed the content, it wouldn't be the event that it is now. So distribution of any type of content is the thing that allows it to start to make an impact. And so your local community is no different than that. You know, on Facebook, on Instagram, you can basically put a pin in your practice, draw a circle around your practice, however far out you want to go, and spend some money to show the content to the people that you want to target in that area. But if you're just creating it and you're just putting it organically on your page, like I said, 10 to 15% of the people that like your page will see it. And the problem with that is most of those people will already be patients, or maybe they're friends from chiropractic school. So it's not going to allow you to grow the practice the way you probably hope. And then make sure that you're optimizing your content so it shows up when people are searching online. So this can either be on YouTube or it can be on Google, or I'm sorry, on your website. When people, type in, chiropractor for car accident, Atlanta, Georgia, if you want to show up for car accidents, you're going to need to have content that has been optimized so that Google knows, hey, this content is for car accidents in Atlanta, Georgia, not in Miami, Florida. And also, this is the best content if somebody's looking for a car accident chiropractor in Atlanta, Georgia. So if you're creating that content, step one is to make sure you have your ideal patient in mind. Step two is think about what is it that they need to know. In general, like you can push it out into their social media feeds, but then also what is it that they're looking for when they go to Google and they type in a search, or what are they looking for on YouTube when they type in a search? For a local business, Google is going to be much more important than YouTube. YouTube is more of like it's really more for national businesses, but you can optimize your YouTube videos so that it helps you show up when somebody is doing a search on Google. Tip number 3, dominate searches for chiropractors in your area. So the number 1 and 2 things that people search for when they're ready to buy, when they've decided that they need a chiropractor and they're going to call someone, is chiropractor, city, state, and chiropractor near me. Now, when that type of search happens, there are 3 sections. There's the Google Ads section, which is at the very top of the page, and that can hold up to 4 Google Ads. Then there's the map section, which has 3 organic listings. This is where like the reviews show up. It has 3 organic listings, and it has 1 Google ad product as a 4th listing. And then the organic listings, which is the websites, are below that. So we're going to go through each one of these 3. So Google Ads, the reason why Google Ads are so important now for really any local business, but especially for chiropractors, is that number 1, they're at the top of the page. Like it doesn't need, like if no one is running Google Ads in your area, which is now starting to become more and more rare, if no one is running ads in Google Ads in your area, the map listing will show up first. The websites are always going to be below the Google Ads and the map listing. I would say since the pandemic started, like pre-COVID, we were probably getting 55% of our traffic was coming from mobile, 45% from desktop. Now it's probably at about 75% mobile, 25% desktop. So it is quickly evolving into more of a mobile first environment. And in terms of Google Ads, that's really important, because if you do Google Ads the right way, that ad can show up. It can take up the entire screen of the phone. They'd have to scroll past you to even see someone else. So if the person searching is the type of person who just clicks whatever Google shows first, then your ad is going to be the thing that gets clicked. So a lot of people, I'm 43, a lot of people my age and older are like, well, I never click on ads. So like, is it even worth doing? The amount of clicks that you get on ads at the top of the page dwarf the amount of clicks you get on someone's actual website, just because people aren't even scrolling down that far anymore. So Google Ads at the top of the page are super important. And then another thing is that it gives you an opportunity to get into the map listing, even if you aren't in the organic listing. So there are 3 organic spots and there's a 4th paid spot. A lot of times people will live in like Atlanta has a lot of suburbs. So if somebody is like on the edge of like West Atlanta and the suburb that they're in is, just right on the edge, and their office is really close to West Atlanta, but I'm blanking on like a suburb name of Atlanta, but the address itself of the practice, if it is not in Atlanta, if someone types in, even if they're 2 miles away from you, and they'd be happy to drive over to you, the fact that your address does not say Atlanta, Georgia, you will not show up organically in that top 3. But if you're running Google ads, your radius can reach into Atlanta, and that way you have the chance of not only showing up at the top of the page, but showing up in the map listing. And if you have invested a lot of energy and time and effort into getting more reviews, and let's say you've got the most reviews in your area, you want to make sure that you're showing up in that paid map product, because it shows how many reviews you have. So if you show up with 127 reviews and the next closest person in the organic pack has like 25, you're going to get that click 9 times out of 10. So Google ads are really important. I think it's an underrated aspect of chiropractic marketing that a lot of offices that are maybe smaller or kind of mid-level offices just aren't realizing the impact that they can make really immediately, because you turn Google ads on and they start showing up in search pretty quickly. The next step is Google My Business. So this is where the organic pieces in the map pack live. You want to show up organically there, because that is the place. If people aren't going to click on just the first thing that pops up, the next place they're going to go to is the map pack. And the reason why a lot of people decide to click through on the map pack is because there is an objective piece of data that they can use to compare your office versus the other offices. So that's why it's so important to invest the time to really get those reviews, because once you get a Google review, it's there forever. And if you can be the person with the most reviews, even if you're in 3rd place in that map pack, as long as you're in the top 3, if you have 125 reviews and the next closest person has 25 reviews, even if they're in the number 1 spot and you're in the number 3 spot, you'll probably get that click, because they see it all together and they can decide. The only things that they're really going to decide on, I think, are how close are you, because it'll show how close your office is to the searcher, and then how many reviews do you have relative to everyone else. So with Google My Business, a lot of people are saying that it's quickly becoming as important as your website. And so you want to make sure that your Google My Business listing is as optimized as it can be. Now, lots of people will tell you like, geotagging your images and putting keywords in the description and responding to reviews with keywords, that helps you rank for those keywords. It doesn't. There's a lot of stuff that there's a lot of misinformation when it comes to what helps you show up higher in Google My Business. But the one thing that is going to help you is if you do all the things that Google offers you and recommends for you to do, all of that put together will have you be seen as more relevant in Google's eyes, and B, it will help you get clicked on more than somebody else who doesn't have all of the bells and whistles figured out. So for example, when COVID hit, they added in basically like COVID safety attributes. So you can tell people if an appointment needs to be made ahead of time, if masks are required, if the staff is using masks, if the staff is getting temperature checks, and I think there's a couple other ones. But those things show up kind of front and center, and they're really pushing that stuff forward to people. And for people that's important to, that may be the reason why they pick you over somebody else, even if maybe you don't have as many reviews, or maybe you're a little bit further away. So optimizing your Google My Business is just a really important thing. And you can Google optimize Google My Business listing and find a million blog posts and guides that can just walk you through step by step on how to do it. But you want to make sure that you're utilizing everything Google offers you. And then third, like a distant third, is the organic rankings. you have a lot less control. Like Google Ads, you have the most control over. Google My Business, you have the next most control over. And organic rankings, you have the least control over. And the biggest reason is because there's so much competition because everyone is trying to show up organically for chiropractor city state or chiropractor near me. What I don't spend a lot of time worrying about the organic rankings for those types of terms. I would much rather focus in my time and energy on Google My Business and the Google Ads. And then what I focus on with the website is showing up for individual pages where somebody's looking for a specific condition, or like a chiropractor for pregnant moms or whatever it might be. You want to make sure that those pages are really filled out well. I kind of just don't worry that much about showing up for chiropractor city state or chiropractor near me, just because everybody is, and it's so competitive. And I think the top two are so much more important than the other three. All right, the next tip is invest in your website. So I have kind of strong feelings about this. So I guess, I don't know, maybe it was like 10, 15 years ago. Nobody really knew how to do websites. And so there were these companies that started popping up that were for, like, they were basically chiropractic in a box websites, dental in a box website, accountant in a box websites. And it was just easier to pay $100, $150, $200 a month to get a website to get going. So when you're first starting out in practice, unless you have like a loan that you're working off of, if you have a loan that you're working off of, I recommend just building the site from the get-go. But if you're, if money is tight in the beginning, then these are good options because it professionalizes you. They look nice. They work. They're functional. They're built the right way, and and things tend to get decent results. The problem is that the longer you have that website, the more expensive it becomes. And also you are, in function, you are renting the website from these companies. Like, the website is not yours, it's theirs. The URL might be yours, but if you stop paying the $200 a month for your website, you don't have a website the next month. So I really recommend that if you've gotten to the point where money is not as big of an issue as maybe it is for somebody who's just starting out and under 50 visits a week, if you have the money to invest in building out a website the right way, I strongly recommend doing that, because that way you own it. It's an asset that you have instead of something that you're renting from someone else. So when you are creating a website, or if you're just editing the website that you have now, make sure that it's set up for conversion. And what I mean by that is, like, when somebody lands on your website, the whole point of that website visit is to get them to schedule an appointment. It is not to like educate them more. It is not to get them to join your newsletter. It's not to get them to call the office. It's to get them to schedule an appointment. So make it very clear how to do that. And I strongly recommend using an online scheduler that connects with your EHR so that they know like what times are actually available. So like ReviewWave and Sked and Zingit, they all have that capability. If you have one of like the top three, like biggest, like I think ChiroTouch, Genesis, Platinum, Atlas, things like that, it can connect and it can read your actual schedule. And so when people are looking around and they're looking to schedule, they can pick a time that is really available. The reason I like this is because it creates like a micro commitment, and it gets them more invested than if maybe they just filled out a contact form on your website. So be sure that you are getting rid of as many calls to action as you can. Like, nobody's signing up for your newsletter. No one's signing up to come to an event, like just by like browsing your website. Just focus in on giving them one thing to do, which is schedule that appointment. Next is to clarify your message and find your ideal patients. So we talked earlier about story brand. So the book Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller, that is all about clarifying your message, making it as simple as possible. He talks about the caveman test, which is, can I look at your website and grunt out in 2 seconds? Or could a caveman look at it and grunt out in 2 seconds? what it is that you do and who you help. The more you clarify your message, the more you call out your ideal patients, the more likely you will be to convert. So you can have a really convoluted message on your website. You can set it up perfectly for conversion, but if the message is all messed up and you're not really speaking to anyone and they can't really figure out what exactly it is that you do, it doesn't matter how great it is in terms of setting it up for conversion. If this piece is missing, you're going to get a lot of bounce backs. And that's what Google hates the most. What Google wants is to be able to show, if they show something number one, they want people to get the answers that they're looking for. They do not want people looking at your website, not looking at any other pages, bouncing back, looking at the next one. They want to send them to your website and then have them take the next step, which is schedule the appointment, which you can set up as a conversion so that Google knows, hey, these people are going through. And the more that happens, the more your Google ads show up at the top, the more that your organic listings show up at the top, because Google sees you as more relevant than somebody else who may not have as clear a message or may not have as easy of a conversion setup. And then think of your website as a collection of one-page websites. So Google doesn't really rank a website in total. When people think of their website, they think of their homepage, but really that's a one-page website within the website. If you have a low back pain page, if you have a pediatric chiropractor page, those are basically one-page websites for those conditions or those situations. So regardless if you aren't showing up like number one for chiropractor city state, you could show up number one pretty easily, I would guess, for chiropractor for blank city state. So like chiropractor for kids, chiropractor for plantar fasciitis, chiropractor for whatever it is that you want to be known for. You could focus in on that one page and really make it great and look at who else is ranking number 1, 2, and 3, and look at why. You can usually look at it and tell like why this person's at 1, this one's at 2, and this one's at 3. And then you just make it better. You add more value, you personalize it more. And over time, Google will see that. And in a local environment, sometimes that can happen really quickly because it's so obvious that yours is better than anything else out there. So even if you're not showing up number one, and this guy that has been there for 15 years and he spends a lot on marketing and blah, 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 he always shows up when people are looking for chiropractor. Well, he may not even have a page for chiropractor for kids. So that gives you that opportunity to show up when you want to show up. And with the chiropractor near me, chiropractor city state, that stuff is where your Google My Business and Google Ads is the great equalizer when it comes to showing up, because basically whoever's the most aggressive and is willing to spend the most wins. Tip number 5 is, again, don't try to do it all yourself. We talked about this a little bit earlier. If this looks like your organizational chart, then there's a problem. This is what my organizational chart looked like back in my first couple years in practice. So I graduated from Logan in 2006. I bought a practice that I was an associate at for like a month or two. He offered to sell it to me. And it was a single office inside of a medical center, no employees. Like I did my own scheduling and billing and everything. And so I bought the practice, and because it was like zero overhead, it was like $1,000 a month. I think we were profiting like $12,000 a month, pretty much the day that I bought it. And after about a year of this, I thought I was such a business genius because I was the only chiropractor in a town of 4,500 people and I had no overhead. I was like, well, I definitely need to open a second one. And so I opened a second one from scratch in the town that I actually lived in. And that was a town of 100,000 people with 80 chiropractors, some of which had been there for 20 or 30 years. And I quickly realized that I did not know what I was doing. And within a year and a half of running both of these practices, burning the candle at both ends in terms of trying to like figure it all out, I gave myself a heart attack in 2009. Well, when I was in the hospital, I just made the commitment. I'm like, I have to either decide to go all in on being the chiropractor, like the doctor, or I need to go all in on being the business builder, because those were the two competing things that were really stressing me out. So I went all in on the business and the marketing side because that was the part that I was passionate about. But it was also the thing that only I could do. I felt like I could always find associates that would love seeing patients and that I could build the business for them. And so this is what I want you to think about when it comes to your marketing is don't run yourself into the ground trying to figure out stuff that you're just never going to be as good at somebody who does this for a living. So only focus in on the things that only you can do. And what that usually is networking, boots on the ground stuff, and creating content. Like you need to have somebody out in the community. You should be networking yourself with other professionals, and you should be creating content that goes out into the community. The other stuff around that, like the follow up, the video editing, the strategy of like what it is you should be doing, all of that, somebody's already figured all that out, and you don't have to be the one to like reinvent the wheel. So if you can focus in on just the stuff that you're really great at, you're going to be more likely to continue to do it. So number one, look inside your team to see if there's anybody that can help you with this. We talked about this a little bit easier. Also, make one person on your team accountable to making sure that this stuff gets done, whether it's Google My Business Optimization or creating a video each week. You'll be the one that ends up doing it, but you should. The thing that really helped me out when I started this, when I started creating content, was making somebody accountable. Everybody's responsible. Like I was responsible to creating the content, but making someone else accountable so that they would schedule it for me. They would help me. They would get the camera set up. They would tell me if it was any good or not after I did it. So making somebody accountable to getting it done is really important. And then make sure that you're utilizing experts, whether it's experts that are out there in the internet, if you're trying to just execute it yourself, or experts like myself that, this is all I do. I help chiropractors do all of these things that we talked about. And like I said, I eat, breathe, and sleep this stuff, and this is all me and my team do. So it would be difficult for someone to get to the level of expertise that I have and that we have at executing these strategies. So if you're at a place where time is more valuable than money for you, I always recommend hitting that fast forward button with experts and not always trying to figure it all out yourself. So just to give you an idea of what we actually offer, we implement the strategy that I use for my own practice. We average about 55 new patients a month. We do no external events. Especially this last year, we haven't done any. It's all referral and all online marketing. And it's a lot of content marketing that we do, and we've been doing for about 6 years now. So the thing that we help our clients with is I do one-on-one content coaching with our clients. I've actually got a call right after this. You might have seen a text message come in from him that I've got a coaching call with him about what his next set of content is going to be. So I basically find out like, what is it that you care about? What do you want to create content around? And then I help you structure a plan for that. The clients go and create the content. They shoot the videos. They write the things that I ask them to write. And then they get it to my team. And then that all gets executed. All the video editing, all the transcription, all the copywriting, the boosting, the retargeting, like all the things that are necessary, best practices, we take care of that for you. And then we also do Facebook and Instagram lead generation. So a lot of you probably think of marketing agencies as Facebook ad agencies, and it's really just a tactic that should be part of a bigger strategy. We do the lead generation side of it, but we also, I think, do it a little bit differently than most. We can do it where we're making a new patient offer, but we also help people promote events in their practice, workshops, lunch and learns, basically anything that you're trying to promote in your practice. We'll use Facebook and Instagram to help you do that. And then Google Ads and search lead generation. I think we're the best Google ad agency in the profession. We dominate every community that we're in. In Google search, because we're creating that consistent content, like I said, those one-page websites, we've really helped you create great pages that are going to show up at the top. And then if you do need help with your website, not everyone does, I am a StoryBrand certified guide. I'm the only chiropractor who's a StoryBrand certified guide in the world. And we do custom websites where you and I meet one-on-one to really go through the process of pulling that story out of you about your practice so that we can create a website that speaks directly to your ideal patients. So I talked a little bit about the strategy session before. I look at pretty much your whole online presence, your website, Facebook, Instagram, Google, YouTube. I give you an idea of what I recommend, what I think you're doing right, what I think you're doing wrong, opportunities you might be missing out on. And it's a true strategy session. I don't even talk about pricing or like hiring us. We have to set up a second call to do that. I just want this call to just be helpful to people, whether they hire us or not. So I only have so many spaces available for these. So the first 10 offices get a free strategy session if you go to contentintoPatients.com, and there's a little application, and then you will pick a time. So a couple other things that I wanted to give you is a thank you for being here today. I have a podcast I mentioned earlier, Path to a Million podcast. And my first interview was with Gary Vaynerchuk. So if you know Gary V, it was the only time that I've ever heard him talk in depth about what a chiropractor should be doing for their practice. And it was a really great interview. If you go to GaryVinterview.com, you can get that recording. And it was my first episode on the Path to a Million. And there's hundreds of episodes after that you can get tons of good marketing advice for. We took a pause when COVID hit, but we are starting back up next month. So keep an eye out for that. And then last but not least is we have a chiropractic video challenge that I am starting. Our first one is going to be in April. And what this is I tell people that they should create content, but this video challenge is going to be a way for me to basically walk you step by step on how to create a set of content, a set of videos around a topic that you care about. So it's 14 days long. I'm eventually going to sell it for $97, but because you guys were on the call today, I'm doing it for free. This is going to be the first one that I do in April. So I'm going to really kind of over deliver and be more accessible than what I may be in the next few months, but I really want to figure out what works and what doesn't. So if you're thinking about, you need to kickstart your video production, this is going to be a great way to just kind of learn the ins and outs and the best way to do it. So you can go to chirochallenge.com and there's a little form to fill out, and then you can get added into the group. And then this is my favorite BJ quote: early to bed, early to rise, work like hell and advertise. And I think that if all of us marketed our practices the way that BJ marketed chiropractic and promoted chiropractic, that our healthcare system, our country, our world would be in a very different place than it is right now. And I think it's our responsibility to get that message of chiropractic and about what makes our office unique and who we can help specifically. I think that's our job to get that out into our community. Is not our patients' job to educate their friends and families on what we do. It's our job to inform the entire community that we're here to help them, that natural health care is the way to go. And it's our mission at Leverage Media to help more chiropractors influence more communities and save more lives. So with that, I appreciate you guys having me, and I would love to take any questions. I think I've got like 15 minutes left. So I would love to take any questions specifically about like your practice. If you want me to quickly look at a website, if you're working with a marketing agency and you have questions about like, well, should they be doing this or why are they doing that? If you're starting from scratch, if you're doing like whatever it is, I know a lot about this stuff, so I can help you, but I really like specific questions from specific offices instead of just kind of like general advice. So I will stop my share. And
Dr. Silveri, I think there was a question in the chat.
Okay. Let's see. When you have many different services, do you post the times available for each or just the new patient? So like, what are the different services?
So it was myself that actually posted that question. So we're doing anything from chiropractic to cold laser to hyperbaric to massage therapy. And the way that our appointment book is actually structured, there are specific times so that the team can actually best take care of a patient for XYZ service.
Yeah.
So while I'm doing a lot of what you spoke about today, I have not set out on our Google Ads and what have you specific times so that the patient can schedule. They can send in a request and then we will call them and we have a procedure for that. Because it's just set out on the appointment book.
You just have like a physical appointment you're like writing in?
Oh, no.
Yes, you can, like all of those things that I mentioned, you can set up like different calendars. You know, for cold laser and hyperbaric, I would imagine that they're meeting with the doctor. Like you're only scheduling people for new patients. Like your online schedule, like your website is 99.9% for new patients. It should not be used.
I agree with you on that.
So anybody that's scheduling on your website should only new patient appointments. So if they need to massage, that would be on the massage calendar. If all of those other services are first you meet with the doctor and then they put a plan together for you, then that would just be, there's no difference between like a chiropractic appointment or a hyperbaric appointment or a laser appointment.
So I would set it up as an individual consult for cold laser, because they don't have to be a chiropractic patient to utilize a cold laser. They
You
don't
don't care about the calendar. So like they need to talk to the doctor. So the doctor has a calendar. It doesn't matter what they talk about with them, whether it's chiropractic or cold laser or hyperbaric. It's like the people, right? So the massage therapists have a calendar. The chiropractor has a calendar. The personal trainer has a calendar. So like if they were coming in for therapeutic exercises that was with a different person, then they would need to be on that calendar versus the chiropractic calendar.
So how do you, when you're setting that up for the individual layperson, how do you drive them toward that appropriate calendar?
You only get one choice. Like if you run an ad for a chiropractor city state and your Google ad pops up at the top and they click on it, they should only be able to choose a chiropractic calendar. Or you can have a drop. I mean, all these softwares are different. So you just have to like find one. If you use one, you just have to ask them like, here's my use case. How do you recommend I set it up?
Okay. All right, thank you.
You guys have any questions that I can help with?
I can ask a whole bunch of questions.
Well, if nobody else has any, then you're more than welcome to fire them off.
When, so the office was not that affected by COVID, which is absolutely fabulous. I've done lunch and learns, I've done dinner with the doc, I've done all that. What is your recommendation or thought process in moving forward in 2021 with educational videos, posting those online? I mean, I did a live Facebook the other day with a guest, and I mean, I don't think we're doing too bad because there's 450 something views. So
I mean, 450 views is not a lot. Like you want to, if it's a good piece of content that somebody's going to find useful, you would want to take that and put $50, put $100 behind it so that 5,000 views happen or 10,000 views could happen.
So you're talking about boosting the video.
Yeah, it's not really boosting. It's like you would create an ad using that content. Boosting is not a real efficient way of doing it. You would actually need to set up a business manager and an ad account and then create an ad within the ad account to push that out. It's the same idea. Like I say boosting sometimes, but boosting on Facebook is a specific thing, and it's better to create it as an ad. So if you find something, because it's not about views, because like Facebook is first of all, they lie about like the views. Like it's been shown that they are not truthful about how many views or what reach you're getting.
Right.
But if something is like getting shared a lot, if there's a lot of comments, if there's a lot of likes, that's
Mhm.
a good indication to spend money to get it out to people that don't already know you.
Okay.
But that video challenge that I talked about would be a good way to like see the process of like how, like what you should be thinking about when it comes to creating videos, because just creating a video is
Yeah.
one thing, having a strategy on creating the video is another. Do you have anything else?
No, I mean, I have an individual that actually is specifically promoting the office through, I think it's six different platforms, as far as social media is concerned. Um,
Well, what does that mean? Like, what are they doing?
well, they're doing the optimization. They're doing they're posting the content, and she's constantly talking to me about content, which just makes my eyeballs like twitch. Um, but I wanted to make sure that we were doing things correctly and or as best as what we can with where we are right now. But I'm looking to do maybe more video stuff because I realize, although I've been in practice for almost 21 years, that I never have done a spinal screening ever, and I mean I'm certainly not doing one now. But I'm not doing a healthcare class anymore. I'm not doing the lunch and learns anymore. That's because of COVID, and B, I don't want to. So, I mean, I can put the stuff out and I can put the video stuff in my office and I can have it done and then I can put it out. So I'm just making sure that we're doing what, is most important, making sure that when they land on our website that, it is informative and they're engaging.
Yeah. How much are you paying the person that's doing the stuff for you?
You're gonna have to ask my CPA. I don't know. I think it's like $1,400 a month.
Okay. So I mean,
part of it is the Facebook advertising. Part of it is Google. Part of it is remarketing. So I would have to look at the breakdown.
But I would guess that it's probably all lead generation. Like it's all ads, like Google ads, Facebook ads. The retargeting is just how to like show different people ads.
Right.
The thing I'm talking about is you really need to have a content first approach, and not just like the marketing person like tells you, hey, you need to create more content. Like that doesn't really like help. There's
Does
like,
not help me. No, I want to know what.
yeah, there has to be a system and a structure to it because
we have that.
What's that?
And we do have that. Like we have a marketing calendar for a year in advance, and it's what is going to be, our focus for this month. So what is going to be our advertising, or what is going to be our focus for this quarter, and then we break it down into months, and we set that out a year in advance. And then what is going to be, what are we going to talk about in regards to content, and what are we going to do in regards to, posts having to do with specific subjects.
Yeah.
It's not just all over the place. It is.
There has to be, you can have a structure, you can be creating content, you can be like posting articles or whatever. But if there isn't like a strategy of how to get that distributed, how to like make it all work together, content marketing is complicated. There's a lot of moving parts to it, and I don't explain it in 2 minutes. But like I said, if you do the strategy session, like that's kind of what we go through is like, what are you doing now? How could you be improving on it? What are you missing out on? That kind of stuff.
Okay, I can take a look at that.
All right, Valerie, well, I got to be on another call at 2, so.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
We'll post this once the recording comes down. I'll post this to YouTube. So if you guys want to go back and watch anything, it'll be there. And thank you so much, Dr. Silveri. We really appreciate you being here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Y'all have a lovely day. Thank you.